Hi, so here's the day. Today I'm going to talk to you about my experience with an earthbound spirit and what I think the difference is between an earthbound spirit and a spiritual event. So if you're interested in this story, please stay tuned and watch me to the end because there's twists and turns. Hold on. So first of all, I want to welcome my posse. Hi, posse, and welcome all my new subscribers. I hope you like my content. You'll stay tuned. You'll pass me, share me. That would be great. I want to welcome you all. And today is, as you know, I'm a very, very believable in spirits person. Is that believable in spirit? Anyway, I believe in spirits, whether they're earthbound spirits or spiritual events or phenomenons or whatever you'd like to say. My story is about an earthbound spirit who came to me very distinctly. This spirit happened to be my father-in-law. Before I can tell you the story, there are many things leading up to this. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my father-in-law first to get to the story. There's twists and turns and different things that happen. So I hope you stay tuned. But my story goes back to when my father-in-law was with us. And my husband gave me permission to talk about him. And I shouldn't talk about him. And I'll tell you why later. Because I actually promised him that I wouldn't talk bad about him. But I have to tell you this before I tell you why he came to me. And my definition of earthbound spirits versus spiritual events are, I believe earthbound spirits are spirits who are left lingering here and have not crossed over. This is what I believe wholeheartedly. Earthbound spirits are attached to either a house or a thing or whatever. They don't have the energy to cross over. Maybe they had unfinished business here that they couldn't take care of. Maybe they have regrets. And maybe they just are attached to a person or an object or a home or something. And you hear things all the time about people, noises in houses and things, which I have another story for too, but that's later. But some earthbound spirits can be just innocent people that just kind of hang around. My girlfriend has one in her basement. She calls them by name. I don't remember what it was, but she goes, oh, there's George or something. He's downstairs again. And she'll hear her washer start or go off, and she'll go down and the lid will be up on the washer and nobody's there. Sometimes her basement door opens and then closes and she just goes, oh, hi, George, whatever. And she did some research on it and found out that he did live in the house, and he was a very nice man. He's not a bad spirit. He's just friendly, and he doesn't, sometimes her detergent spilled over, or, she says maybe he gets angry once in a while, but nothing earth-shattering, so to speak, like things falling and crashing and, falling out of your chair. He's not that kind of a spirit. And then there are earthbound spirits who are very have negativity around them and who are more vicious, more angry, whatever. Those, they just can't seem to cross over for whatever reason. Spiritual events are just things that happen to you, just like I told you the story about my mother's watch that appeared, or a smell, her perfume smell. You may walk into a store and smell your mother's perfume, your dad's cologne, and it'll just engulf you with memories and things. And I believe that they're just here to say, I love you, I'm thinking of you. In many ways, it could be a bird, a cardinal in a tree, of a loved one who just wants to say hi. Maybe you'll hear a song that your loved one played, or maybe you had somebody who saved nickels and dimes or whatever, and you'll be walking down the street and all of a sudden you'll look down and there'll be a nickel or a dime facing you, and you bend down to pick it up, and as you do, you think of that loved one. And they are just events that happen just to make you know that they're here with you in spirit, and that they love you, and they're thinking of you. And those happen all the time. They happen to me quite a bit with people that I care about and that I have lost. Now, getting back to the earthbound spirits of my father-in-law, just a brief kind of synopsis of my father-in-law. He was just not a very, very nice man. He was very selfish with his children, very selfish with his wife. He was on the road a lot. He was a truck driver. He just took off for months at a time. My father-in-law had no money. The kids used to go around collecting pop bottles and just to have a little extra food to eat in the house. And he just was all about himself. Whatever he wanted to do, he did. Sorry, Bill. But that's just the kind of man he was. And my husband has no really great fond memories of his father. So my father-in-law got older, and he got very sick, and he went to the hospital, and he was very, very angry because he did not have any insurance, so he didn't want to be there. But by the time he got to the hospital, and he had been sick for a while, he had symptoms, and we all knew it, and we kept saying, this isn't right, you need to, but he wouldn't listen. I'm not going to the hospital, I'm not going to pay them any money. And then he would just go on about his life. Well, by the time he got to the hospital, anyway, he had probably stage 4 pancreatic bladder cancer. And they admitted him to the hospital, and he was angry, just angry. And the doctors had said to us, we had gone home, and I think my mother-in-law got a call and said, I think you better come up because I don't think he's going to make it through the night. So we all go to the hospital, and we go around the bed, and it's funny because, nobody cried. Nobody, cared. Is that sad? And I thought to myself, gosh, how sad it is that nobody's really shedding a tear over this man. I mean, I think one of the greatest legacies that somebody can leave behind is when you cry. And my husband said this. He says, crying just means that they left behind a legacy of love, and one that will be carried on forever. And nobody just seemed to care. But anyway, we go to the hospital, and anyway, we come home, and my mother-in-law's, preparing for, what her next move is. And she called my husband at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and she goes, I just got a call from the hospital. And my husband says, yeah? And she goes, yeah. She says, your dad wants to come home. And we were like, what? So anyway, we go to the hospital, we're thinking, he goes, I want to go home to my house. I want to go home. So we're thinking, okay, well, God's giving him a second chance. He's going to come home. He's going to make things right. Maybe tell him, help my mother-in-law out, and give her some advice, I don't know what we thought. But anyway, he came home, and my husband and his brother, I think, went to pick him up at the hospital, brought him home, and he came home, and he made my mother-in-law's life hell, if I could say that. I mean, he was horrible. He treated her bad. He told her he should have never married her. I shouldn't have this disease. And he was so angry that he was so sick. And she would call us, and she would be crying. She goes, well, I don't know what to do. He's so mean. He's this. And we would be like, okay, well, we'll come out tomorrow. She had called us on the phone, and it was sometime about 1 o'clock in the morning. And she said, Dad just went to the bathroom, and he fell over, and I called 911, and they're coming to the house. She said, I think he passed away. We went out to the house, and the ambulance had already taken him. Anyway, he just left her in a mess. He left her feeling very bad about herself, crying, what she did so wrong, and no money, just junk. He was a junk collector because he always thought he was going to make money on his junk, and he had collected all this stuff, and it was terrible. So the next weekend we said, well, we'll come over, Mom, and help you out. We'll help you clean up. We'll help you get rid of some stuff, get your house in order. So we went over there, and we were just cleaning and throwing stuff away, and he would save like broom handles. I mean, he thought he was going to make money on them. I don't know. Anyway, he had this desk in his garage, and I had commented on this desk before because it was like this old antique desk. So my mother-in-law had said to me, why don't you go ahead and take that desk home? You know, you've always liked it. Go ahead and take it home. And I was like, oh, do I really want his desk? So I said, okay, I'll take it home. So we take the desk home, put it in the basement, put it in the corner of my basement. I had it maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 days or something. So I'm sitting at the desk one day, and we had actually just come back from Pennsylvania. I had an uncle that passed away, so we had just come back from the funeral, and I was sitting down at the desk, and all of a sudden I hear this bang, 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 and I'm like, what the heck? And I look up, and we have a window in our basement, and I look up and I see this kind of like something like flying at the window, and I go, oh, it's probably my son outside playing kickball or something with the kids. So I get up and I go outside, and he's not out there, and I'm like, oh, that's strange. So I come back and I sit down at the desk, and all of a sudden I hear bang again. Well, my other son came home, and he comes down the basement, and I go, what the heck is that noise? I said, of that banging. He goes, Ma, I don't know, because he didn't go to the funeral with us. He says, but when you were gone, this has been going on. He said, I was scared to death. He said, I slept down the basement. He said, this is banging has been going on all around the house for like days since you've been gone. I go, really? He goes, yeah. I go, what the heck is it? And he goes, I don't know. Anyway, we figured it out after a day or so that there was a bird, and this bird was flying around our house, and it was banging at every window, and especially that basement window, just banging, banging, banging. And I remember I called the Audubon Society, if that's the bird place, the Audubon Society, and I told them about this crazy bird that's just every window in the house. I mean, I don't know how the bird survived because without a beak like this, because I mean, it had to be disfigured, this bird, but nope, it just kept going round and round and round. So we were like, oh, geez. So the Audubon Society, they told us, you got to put newspapers up on your window, tape newspapers to your window because it's mating season. And I could think of a better way to mate than banging your beak on a window, but they said it's mating season, and that's what they do. They see the reflection and they think it's, a female bird. Dumb birds. Anyway, so we did. We taped up newspapers to all our windows all over the house. Didn't help. Bang, bang, bang. This bird was. We were like, oh my gosh. My husband was trying to catch it. You couldn't catch it because when he'd go outside, it would disappear. It was like just weird. And so anyway, we were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So we had, like I say, we had newspaper on every window in the house. The kids were scared. I mean, it was crazy. So I go to bed at night, and my husband's snoring to beat the band, and I'm trying to fall asleep, and I'm laying there, listening to him and trying to fall asleep, and then all of a sudden, I got a chill, like came over me, and the drapes behind me, I had white sheer drapes, and they just, all of a sudden I look up and these drapes are like blowing, like at me, and I'm like, okay, my husband forgot to shut the window because the drapes were blowing, and it was a windy night. It was summer, but it was a windy night, and so I turned around to was going to close the window, and all of a sudden the whole room got bright. I mean, bright, and I thought, oh gosh, the kids come in and turn on a light, and I'm flipping around, and all of a sudden, I sit up a minute, and I look up, and at the end of my bed, there's this big white light, just as bright as can be. And I'm looking at this light, and I'm thinking, okay, what is this? And I'm still thinking there's a light on. I sit up, and I look, and this light just came to the foot of the bed in just total brightness. And in the middle of this light was this figure standing there. And he had on this glow, and I could see this long blue shirt, just a long blue kind of a t-shirt look it was, and all around him was just white except for this blue t-shirt. And I stopped, and I was like, whoa. And I look up, and I go, Bill, is that you? That was my father-in-law's name. He goes, yes. He said, I need to tell you something. I need your help. And then the room just was like deadening. My husband had stopped snoring. It just was like silence, dead silence. And I said, okay, what do you need from me? And he goes, well, first of all, he said, I need you all to stop talking so bad about me. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, you know, you're taking all the energy from me. I don't have enough energy to cross into the light. You're just like sucking all the energy out of me. I don't know if he said sucking, but that's my word. It comes across better, like sucking the energy out of me. But he said, all the energy is I don't have enough energy left to cross over because you're all talking so bad about me, you and my sons and my daughter and my wife. And he said, I can't cross over. He goes, I know what I've done. He said, and I know when I left that hospital, God gave me another chance to make things right. And he says, I chose not to. I was mad. I was mad that I was dying. I was mad that I didn't have enough time left to fix things. I was mad that I didn't have enough time to do the things that I wanted to in life to make it good. He said, I knew I was supposed to, but I didn't. And he said, I just want you to tell everybody that I'm really sorry, and that if I had it to do all over again, I would definitely make it right. I would be a better person, but it's too late for me. I just need you to tell my kids, my sons, my daughter, especially my wife, that I'm so sorry. I'm like, why are you coming to me? I mean, you got, sisters, sister-in-laws, your kids. He goes, because you're the only one that believes in spirits. You're the only one that knows that we exist. And I need you, because nobody would believe this. I need you to pass this on. And I said, well, okay. I said, I promise that I will. And he said, and don't tell him not to talk bad about me, that I need to cross over. I said, okay, but, and I'm saying, but, and as I do that, the light gets smaller. Next thing I know, he's gone. I look up, the drapes had stopped blowing. There was no lights on anywhere in the room, and my husband began his snoring again. So everything like went back to normal. I went to sleep. I wasn't afraid. It's weird because you would think like you'd be panicky, and I wasn't. I was perfectly calm. Excuse me. I went back to sleep. I got up in the morning, normal morning. I get on the phone with my mother, and I'm telling my mom the whole story, and my daughter was there, and she was probably about 7 then. She comes over to me. I'm on the phone. She goes, Mom. I go, what? Wait. She goes, Mom. I go, what? She goes, tell me what picture to color. She had a coloring book probably that thick, and she was like, tell me what picture to color. I go, I don't know, color whatever one you want. Yeah, it's fine. She goes, no, tell me when to stop. And she's flipping through the pages. I said, okay, stop. So she stopped, and she opened it up, and she went about her business to color. So I tell my mother the story, and we hung up, and my husband was outside getting the morning paper. He comes in, and he looks at me, and he's got this look on his face, and I go, what is it? And he goes, you know that bird that's been flying around the house? I go, yeah. He goes, it's dead. I go, dead? I go, what do you mean? He goes, it's in the bird bath. I go, in our bird bath? And he goes, yeah. And he says, and you got to come out and see this because the bird is on his back. And he says, it almost looks like you can see the peacefulness on this bird's face, and his wings are out like angel wings. And I'm like, that's creepy. So I go out, sure enough, there's that bird on his back, wings spread out, and I looked like he was smirking. I mean, if you got a beak, a poor beak probably was broken for all the windows that he hit, but I mean, he was like smirking. And so I was like, oh. So anyway, we got it out carefully out of the bird bath, called the kids around, we went out in the back, we buried it, we had a nice little burial for this bird. We came in the house, my husband says, that's weird. He said that, we've been bothered by this bird for a couple of weeks. My dad comes to you last night, and now the bird is deceased. I go, I know. I go, that's weird. So a couple of minutes, we're getting ready to go to my mother-in-law's, and then my daughter says, look, here's my picture. And I like, oh yeah, let's see your picture that you did. So now I told you, this coloring book was this thick, and it was a Charlie Brown coloring book. I'll never forget it. And it must have had 200 pages in that book of pictures. And The only picture that was in that book, the only one in the book of just Charlie Brown, all the rest of them had the whole peanut gallery all in all the pictures, but there was one picture in there that had just Charlie Brown in it. I look at that picture, here's my daughter. She painted Charlie Brown with a long blue t-shirt on. Same color as the t-shirt that my father-in-law had on in front of me. She painted a little yellow halo around Charlie Brown's head. There wasn't a halo on Charlie Brown in the picture, but she painted a picture of the halo. She painted all like little lines, like bright lines, you know how you do when you color, all around Charlie Brown. And then she wrote the caption on it, "Bye-bye, night-night, love you." I freaked. I was like, what? I mean, of all the pictures to paint or to color, she picked the only one in the book, and I went through the whole book, the only one that had singly Charlie Brown in it with a t-shirt, and she painted it blue. It was like mind-blowing. So we're like, holy cow, this is really, really strange. So we go out to my mother-in-law's house, and we're sitting outside, and I'm telling her, and I said, "Mom, I got something to tell you." So I told her the story. I told her about my father-in-law and how he came to me and what he said and how sorry he was. And I went through the whole thing, and she goes, "What time do you think that was?" And I go, "I don't know." I said, "I think it was probably about 3:30 in the morning, something like that, 3:30 maybe in the morning." I go, "Why?" And she goes, "Well, the little girl across the street that lives across the street, she said she's been spending the night with me the last couple of nights." And I said, "Okay." And she goes, "Well, she spent the night that night, the same night that you said you saw Dad." And I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, she was laying on the couch, and she said she got up, she saw the bathroom light on, and she said she was calling, 'Grandma, Grandma, is that you?'" Because she called them Grandma and Grandpa. She goes, "Grandma, Grandma, is that you? Is that you, Grandma? Are you up? Are you up?" And so she gets up, and she goes to the bathroom door, and the light was bright in there, and she sees my father-in-law getting up from, like starting to stand up, and she's looking at him, and he's like bending down then over the sink, and the water was running, and he's rinsing his face with water, and he had a long blue, she said he had this long blue, she said, "Grandma, it looked like a gown." And she looked at him, and she goes, "Grandpa, is that you?" And he goes, "Yes, honey, it's me." He said, "I'm going to see God now." He goes, "Would you take care of Grandma for me?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, Grandpa, I will." And he goes, "Would you tell Grandma that I love her and that I will miss her?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, Grandpa, I'll tell her." He goes, "All right, you go back to bed now." She goes, "Okay, Grandpa, bye-bye, night-night, love you." It were her words, which my daughter had wrote on the, coloring book. And so she went back to bed. She said she remembered her. She turned around, and as she turned around, the light got dark. She went back to bed. And so it was like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, that same night that he came to me. So I was like, that is crazy. That's a crazy story. So it all kind of fit in, the whole bird and I haven't really talked bad about him. I'm just telling you, relaying the story. Sorry, Bill, I'm just telling the story. But I mean, we haven't discussed him, and we've never heard from him since. Never saw any signs of him. So I'm assuming that he crossed over, and that was his story. So earthbound spirits, if they leave things unattended or things that they need to say, they kind of hang around until they can tell somebody or until they can express themselves before they cross over. And evidently, he crossed over, and because like I say, we haven't heard from him, and it's really kind of sad because nobody really cried, and I tell you, I remember when my father passed away, because my dad was the matriarch of the family. He held us together, all of us, like glue. And when he passed away, I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the place. And he passed away after my father-in-law passed away. And we just were hysterical. I mean, we were like hysterical people. We just were like crying every minute and stuff. And I remember my son had come to me at the funeral home, and he said, "Mom, you better go back and check Dad." And I said, "My Denny," and I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, he's in the back room and he's crying uncontrollably." And I went, "What? That's out of character." Not that my husband isn't emotional, because he is, but that was like totally out of character for him. And I thought, why is he crying like that? I mean, that's good, I guess. So I go back and I go, "What's wrong, honey?" And he goes, "Oh, I just think it's wonderful." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Well, that everybody's crying so hard, and everybody's so emotional, and everybody's just hysterical." And "I think that's just so beautiful." And I'm like, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." And I go, "How's that?" And he goes, "Well, I just think it's so wonderful that a man can pass and people are so sad because he left a footprint of love on everybody's heart. And all of you you're gonna let him live forever, because you're gonna tell stories, and you're gonna have happy memories, and it's a beautiful thing to cry over somebody that you love." And he says, "We never shed a tear over my dad because nobody really cared." And I went, whoa, poof, what an impact that was on me. And it was like, I don't know, it just kind of woke me up, and I thought to myself, gosh, I want to be that person that people cry over, that I've left a legacy behind of love and respect and fulfillment to people. I don't want to be the one to be earthbound because I feel bad or because I didn't do something that I should have done while I was alive. I want to do everything in my power to be a kind mom, a kind grandma, a kind great-grandma, a kind person to my friends. I want to treat everybody with respect. I don't want to leave and not be able to cross over because I was a jerk, or because I didn't treat somebody, or, oh, I should have said this. I tell people every day, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I make it a point to tell them that I appreciate them, and that even my husband, I appreciate him every day. We never go to bed angry. I never fight with anybody. I never have gone to sleep mad, because if that was the last thing that they ever remembered, or I don't want to be left with that. And so I want to leave a footprint on everybody's heart. And so if you take nothing away from this, be the best that you can be kind, leave a footprint on somebody's heart. Don't be negative. Try to be as positive to people that you can. Love people. Tell them every day you love them. Tell your kids you love them. Tell your grandkids you love them. Give them an extra hug. If you go to bed at night and you think, oh, I should have done this, or I should have said this, do it the next morning, so you have no stones unturned. So you'll cross over. And I really believe that in my heart. And so that's my Earthbound story and spirit story. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was long. I had to tell you so many things, so I hope you had your coffee or your cocktail or your tea, and you watched me, and I hope you believe too. And if you have any stories of earthbound spirits that you believe you've saw or been in your presence, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you all very much for staying tuned for this long story. And I love you, and I respect you all, and I thank you all for loving me enough to leave me these great comments that you do, and passing me along. And I'm so appreciative of you, and I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.